I finally got some resin. Came in the mail this morning, so I thought, bugger it, I'll print up the top receiver plate. Anyway, here you go. Chucked it on this morning and here it's growing. It takes over 9 hours to build. So it's been cranking away for over 9 hours. Been having to check on it and refill it up. That vat there doesn't hold enough to do the whole thing. So I used just a little, under a litre, under a kilo, I should say, not a litre, because you buy this resin in kilos, not in litres. So it's a bit of a trap. When the software develops the model, the slice model, it tells you how many mils it uses, but you don't go in mils with these containers. They come in kilos, so it's actually a little bit more than the mils that it says. So anyway, so I bought 2 kilos of the stuff and I had to use a second bottle, but then there was some left over and I poured it back in. Here you go, here's the whole model. When I stopped it at one point to fill it up, it looked like there was a little bit of a tiny wobble in the design for some reason, a tiny imperfection at that point. Hopefully it's not going to be an issue. We'll see. It shouldn't be. It's actually a lot better than the last one I pulled out, but it's heaps lighter. I've removed so much of the center and the edges to lighten it up. So it'll be interesting to see once I put it all together how heavy this is. I calculated about 1.5 kilos. I measured the weights of all the bits and pieces I've already printed, so it should be about 1.5 instead of 3. This is a pain trying to get this apart. It's always a struggle, and you got to make sure you don't break the actual part that you've made accidentally, because then it all goes for nothing. So this cost 50 Australian bucks to make this little piece, about 50. So don't want to break it, because if you break it, then you could either try to repair it or reprint a new one from scratch. Anyway, some good strong snips is handy. Anyway, so it's just fiddly pulling it all a bit apart. What else can I say? So I've ordered a lot of parts. I don't want to pull the other one apart like I said. I want to keep that as it is. So I'm still waiting on the motors, which have been sent, but the magnets are a pain in the arse. I don't know what's going on with magnets and companies that sell them, but I bought it over a week ago and it appears it hasn't even been shipped yet and sent. And this is from Queensland. I could imagine if it was from China and I was buying out of China, but this is supposed to be from Queensland, so I'm not sure what the go is. Whether that's just all a bit of a show and it's actually not coming from Queensland, but it's coming from China direct, and they're just holding on to them. I emailed them, so just wait and see what happens. Hopefully it's in the post and it's on its way, and they just haven't updated the shipping tracking stuff. But I would have thought that the post, when they received it, or when whoever received it, would have updated the tracking. So it's got a tracking number, but it seems to have not even left the building. It's been over a week. Anyway, I can always cannibalise the wheels I have. Means smashing them apart, pulling all the magnets out and putting them in my new wheels. I'm not going to use the old wheels again because of the design change. So just have to wait. It's just a pain in the ass. Just got to wait. Yeah. So I've done some sanding and prepared some of the blocks that go into the slides of this top plate. So there's little ribs in these top plates. You probably won't see them. So the ribs are designed so then the block that holds the motor will be set in place. It'll be clicked into the top position, second position, third. There's 5 little steps, that click down. So when they're locked in, they're horizontal, they're perpendicular to the top plate. They won't swivel downwards or upwards once the 4 bolts are in the block, holding the block to this plate. So hopefully I've put enough little steps. I've put enough steps to move the wheel at least 10 millimeters away from the base plate, or that top plate, I should say. And 10 millimeters is probably a large gap, and I won't need to go any further than that. But I'm going to actually set it right to the very maximum top so that the magnets in the plate and the magnets in the wheels are almost touching. They're as close as they can be without rubbing against each other. So I'm going to just put it to the max and see what happens. And then run it and test it straight off the bat. I'll have to make some safety barriers. Don't want the same thing happening again and getting injured, so I'll put some sort of a safety barrier in place. But I'll still have the video camera recording, so if something happens, it's all recorded. And yeah, so I've got virtually all the printed pieces done now. Just a matter of assembling them, which I can't do without the magnets and without the motors. So I'm sort of stuck now. I just have to wait. Once those parts come, I can at least prepare these parts and sand them a bit and get them so the printed parts start fitting together, just not do the final assembly until everything comes in the mail. So it's just a waiting game now. I'm hoping they come soon, but then I've got brother-in-law coming over for Christmas, so we'll be busy doing that stuff, so can't see myself out here in the lab doing much stuff during the Christmas period, even if the parts do come before Christmas. Maybe a couple of hours here and there. We'll see how we go. Most likely, hopefully, being realistic, the parts will come sometime after New Year's, I imagine, and then I'll start playing along with that on my weekends again, because I'll be back at work shortly after New Year's. So it'll just be the odd day here and there. So it's just dragging out. Everything just takes time. I can see it won't be ready till the end of January maybe, when I can do a trial flight. It's frustrating, but it's the way it is with prototyping and ordering parts and trying to get bits and pieces from all over the world and relying on others. That's the way it goes, I suppose. Just getting all the rest of the little bits out. You could see during the videos that I was getting a whole heap of bits out. You can see how much of the centre I've taken away. That's a huge hole in the middle. I was a little concerned when I cut that hole out on the design, whether it's still going to be strong enough, the connections between each 4 wings, as I call them, the parts that are going to be impulsed against the wheels. See those little wedges, those little houses, 4 little ones. I'm hoping there's enough meat there that it doesn't vibrate enough that it just shatters those bits off. So if it shatters those bits off, then I'll have to put some of the material back into the center and reprint it again. But then I'm trying to lose weight in it, so it's a catch-22. Put more material back, it's more heavier. I have been told by someone, a good friend of mine, that apparently if you make these hollow inside with a lattice in the inside of the walls, it's actually stronger than having it as a solid piece. I haven't had time to look into this. I can understand it might have more flexibility and it has less chance of shattering or breaking. It becomes less brittle and becomes more flexible. And so in that sense, I can see it becomes stronger so it won't snap off. But there's a big but here. If the wings are too flexible and they don't absorb the impulses and transfer those impulses into a lifting force, then we won't achieve what I'm hoping to achieve. It'll just vibrate and flex up and down, but the thing won't lift. So I've printed this in a solid form again, even though I use more resin. I'm happy to use the resin. It's not about the cost. It's about designing it so the thing flies. The thing takes off and flies. So I'm keeping it solid for now because my gut's telling me it needs to be solid. If there's impulses in it, it needs to be transferred straight through the whole plate and straight upwards. So I don't want any flexibility. And that's where putting the hole in it was a bit of a cringe moment. I put the hole in it and I'm like, oh, I don't have a solid plate anymore now. It's not solid, so I can't transfer all the energy into the lifting force. But that's what we do with prototyping and inventing and trying different things. This might be the way to go. Even though it's not a solid top piece, it might be solid enough to transfer all the energy into a lifting force while reducing a lot of the weight. Yep. So it's starting to look a lot like a quadcopter, isn't it? When you look at it, it's looking more and more like a little quadcopter. So you got the four lifting points, just like a quadcopter has 4 lifting rotors, and you got the guides and the body that holds it all together. And in this case, you'll have little wheels spinning at a fast speed, hopefully imparting all that centrifugal forces. I've been saying centripetal or centripetal. I suppose it's the way I was brought up here in Aussie land, and some of my poor background reading. Anyway, it's the centrifugal forces, or as they call them, imaginary forces, being imparted through the magnets into the top plate magnets, lifting the whole unit up. So we'll see. I did do a little bit of a play with the wheels. I had all the magnets inside all the slots with magnets on the outside, and I put a glass upside with the rim over the wheel to stop the magnets falling out or flying out. And I took all the outside magnets out, and I had a bit of a play to see what would happen when a magnet with the same polarity, north and north, came close, and it sure enough pushed that magnet backwards down to the bottom of that slide. Those little traverse slides I've made, the little areas where the magnets sit, which you would have seen in the previous videos. So it does push it back, but I'm hoping the centrifugal forces keep those magnets hard up against the outside rim and do not get pushed backwards, and instead impart all that energy upwards. Anyway, that's the theory, the hypothesis. So we'll see when it gets all put together and we do a test flight, which I'm hoping before the end of January. But as things get in the way and stuff happens, yeah, sometimes it gets dragged out a bit longer. But if I'm lucky and everything comes early and I get a bit of free time over the Christmas period, I might start to get some of it together. And the earliest maybe I could see it flying is early January if all goes perfect. But like I said, I'm still waiting on some bits. So yeah, I had a rough calculation of how much this is costing per flying unit. So this top plate is $50. Then the motors is about $100. The magnets is about $100. All the other resin components, maybe another $50 to $100. Yeah, $350. Then all the bolts that come with it, and screws and whatnot. That's another, say $50. It's getting close to between $400 and $500 for each unit to build. That's not counting all the labour, the intense labour and all the electricity and all the incidentals like all the alcohol for cleaning and other bits and pieces here and there, and the sandpaper to sand it and to finish it all off. So it's about $500. And then of course then you'd have to add labour and all that. So it wouldn't be a cheap component to sell. If it flies as is, to make one of these and sell it would be it'd be a lot more, because you'd have to charge per hour, your hourly rate. And I've put a fair few hours in this, in each little part. There's been a heap in the background which I've videoed, but I haven't uploaded them. I've got a whole heap of videos. Maybe I'll upload them all one day. Just have to have a look at them. That's where the magnets go. The two magnets on 20-degree angles. So they're sort of facing inwards, and hopefully the wheel will sit in the centre of that, and it will keep the wheel steady and stop the wheel from being pushed one way, inwards or outwards. That's the plan. So we don't get that vibration in the wheel again and the wheel explodes like it did last time. So hopefully can get it up to the 30,000. But if it flies at a lot slower speeds, such as 10 or 15,000 RPM or 20, then you wouldn't need to push it. You wouldn't need to take it to the 30, because that would be just, unless you want it to go faster, unless you want more impulse. Yeah, then you might want to just crank her up. But I'm not going to do that. I just want it to see it lift. So I'm going to run it at the most minimum. Now I've got to put it in some UV light box here, my UV light box, to harden it. Because it's still sort of, it's hard, but it's got like a soft feel to it. It doesn't have that hard feel that you feel you could easily scratch this model until you harden it in the UV light box. Or if you don't have a UV light box, just chuck it outside in the sun. Let the UV light from outside do the job, which I had to do with the base plate on the other one, on the first model. So here you go. Gonna chuck her in the box. Start cooking her. Gonna have to move it around because it's so big I can't put it on the turntable. Have to move it manually. Anyway, I thought I'd just give you an update, show you everything with the top plate. We'll see what happens next. Assembly next, when all the parts come. All right, thanks for watching. Catch you later.